Niham Nacha Shrotrudiyuve Nacha Gnanudeshe Nacha Bhumi Bomo Natejo Navai Chidana Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Nacha prana sanko navui panchubayu Navasaptudatu navapancho kosha Navakpanipadu Nachapastobayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Name Vishurago Name Logo Vadunaiva Menaiva Mapsayava Nadharma Nacharto Nakamo Namoksho Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Na punyang na papang Na sukhang na dukhang Na mantra na tirtha Na veda na janya Aham bhojanang naibhojam Na bhokta Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Name tu nasanka Name jati veda Pita noiva me noiva mata Ajan Navandru Namitran Guru Naiva Shishwa Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham Nirvikalpo Nirakara Rupam विभूत्या च सर्वत्र सर्वैन्द्रिया न च संपदं मुक्तिनामेय चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवो शिवो
আমরা এখন বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করবো, সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করুন। ওম ভাগবে মনসি প্রতিষ্ঠিতা मनः मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठिता।
ॐ
वाग्मि मनोषि प्रतिष्ठिता मनवे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम्
आविहि मेधि वेदस्यामानिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिः
वेदश्यामानिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिः
अनेन दितेन अहोरात्रां संददामि
अनेनोदितेन
प्रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु
माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
ॐ आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक् प्राणः चक्षुः
आप्यायन्तु
बलामिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
श्रुतमतः बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम्
माहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् माम ब्रह्म निरकरो
माहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् माम ब्रह्म निरकरो
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणं मे अस्तु
निराकरमस्तु अनिकरमेऽस्तु
धर्मस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
धर्मस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ पूर्णमादाः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
ॐ पूर्णमादाः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
अवशिष्यते
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सहनो भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु
सहनो भवतु शानो भुनक्तु
भुनोतु
यं कर्वावहै
वीर्यं करवावहै
तेजस्विनो अधितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
तेजस्विनो अरितमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्तो मित्रः शान्गुरुः शान्तो भवति हरिओमः
ॐ मित्रः शाम्बरुणः शाम्बभवति हरि ओम्
नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शाम्नो विष्णु गुरुक्रमः
शाम्न इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शाम्न विष्णु गुरुक्रमः
ब्रह्मणे नमः देवाय
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमः देवाय
इव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मयसि
त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
तमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
सत्यं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
गीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु वतु मामवतुवक्तारम्
अवतु वक्तारम्
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वाम देवा
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृण्वाम देवा
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षवीययोत्रः
भद्रं
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः
त्रय्याङ्गयितु सुमांशतनूभिः
श्रिययाङ्गयेतु शुभङ्कतनूभिः
ईतं यतायु
शिवोहितं आयु
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
ॐ शान्ति 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 शान्तिः
আমরা আমাদের আলোচনায় প্রবেশ করছি। We are now starting our discussion for the day. আজ আমাদের আলোচনার পর্ব ব্রহ্মোপলব্ধি 1006তম পর্ব। এটি আজ 2025 সালের নভেম্বর মাসের 30 তারিখ। এটি 299তম ডিজিটাল সানডে টক। Today's session is 299th digital session on Sundays, and today's topic is consecration to the Supreme. Paramatman, Namami. আমাদের প্রণাম ভগবান সচ্চিদানন্দ পরব্রহ্ম সনাতন। Today I'm going to discuss about what is the meaning and purpose of this consecration, and how do we have to do that, what are the conditions for that, how do we prepare for that. ভগবানকে প্রণাম। এটি আমরা সচরাচর সবসময়ই করে থাকি, আমাদের প্রয়োজনে অপ্রয়োজনে ভগবানের যে কোনো প্রকাশ স্থলে আমরা যখনই যাই তখনই স্বাভাবিকভাবে বেশিরভাগ মানুষের মধ্য থেকে প্রণাম চলে আসে এবং সবাই নিজের মতো করে করে প্রণাম করে। So offering your gratitude, respect and dedication to God is a common tendency of some people in the world. In India, it is very prevalent, it's very prominent among most people. And wherever there is a revelation of God in any form, the diversity is accepted in India. Therefore, revelation of God in any form is considered as the revelation of the Supreme through that form, in that place, or in that context. And automatically, the soul visiting that offers the consecration to that God, to that form of God, and any consecration, any dedication, any gratitude offers, any way of respecting God in any manner, that's actually offered to the Supreme Purity Paramatman. Paramatman is the Supreme Soul. The scientific world has tried to discuss this soul in their own way. They tried to identify the soul with the material content of the human self, human body, and that material content has got the urge to survive. Through that urge to survive, the material content of the human existence tries to make a kind of connection with the world and the universe. And for that connection, the webs of nature of the connection, meaning sometimes it could reach the crest, sometimes it may reach the trough. কখনো ঢেউয়ের যেন ঊর্ধ্বে, কখনো ঢেউয়ের নিচে নিম্নে চলে আসে ভগবানের সঙ্গে, অথবা এই মহাপ্রকৃতির সঙ্গে আমাদের সম্পর্ক বিন্যাস। আর তার ফলে তাদের মধ্যে, আমাদের মানুষের মধ্যে তখন তেমন করে চেতনা তেমন করে গড়ে ওঠে, চেতনার তেমন বিকাশ ঘটে যায়। চেতনার যে বিকাশটি ঘটে যায় তখন এই বিকাশের পর্ব হয়ে ওঠে সার্বিকভাবে মানবের এই জগৎ পথে বিস্তৃতির অবস্থান এবং এই জগৎ পথে বিস্তৃতির অবস্থানের মধ্য দিয়ে একটা সম্পর্কের বিন্যাস ঘটে। The relationship between the human soul and the supreme soul is an eternal relation, and that eternal relation is established through the existence of the supreme soul in our understanding, in our consciousness. Unless we understand that the supreme soul exists, we cannot offer or we cannot assert ourselves to establish a connection with that supreme soul. This has been actually was in practice and has been into practice in the Indian civilization over several millennia and several thousands of years before the known period of the history. Depiction in the history has been done basically by the Western scholars primarily, and that history they have preferred to depict it from the time when the Western civilization could gauge their own existence coming out through the historical depiction. পাশ্চাত্যের যে মনীষা যারা মানব সভ্যতার ইতিহাস সূচনা করেছিলেন, তাদের এই মানব সভ্যতার ইতিহাস সূচনা করবার মধ্যে একটা হিডেন এজেন্ডা, একটা মনের মধ্যে একটা অবস্থান ছিল, যেটি এখন বোঝা যায়, যার ফলে যেখানে যেখানে যে যে সময় পর্যন্ত যে ট্রেস পাওয়া গিয়েছে, যেখানে তারা তাদের অস্তিত্বের সূত্র পেয়ে গিয়েছেন, সেই পর্যন্তই মানব সভ্যতার ইতিহাসকে রচনা করা হয়েছে এবং ব্যক্ত করা হয়েছে। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য বিগিনিং অফ হিউম্যান সিভিলাইজেশন। It has got a lot of doubts because these findings are so-called findings, and these findings are not properly founded on the nature of research that they have done, not actually founded on the scientific research, which they call it the science of the historical depiction. Even though they call it a science of historical depiction, it doesn't follow the pattern of the science. The rationale is constrained by their own love for their existence and love for their idea of superiority over the rest of the world. এর জন্য হয়েছে ভারতবর্ষের যে এবং and most of these historical depictions have been done during the period when India was subjugated by them, by the Western powers, and the Indian mind could not come up to that standard and could not come up to that level and did not have the right to challenge their positions and did not have the facilities to dig out their own, traces of existence in the ancient world. However, the power of truth can never be denied. সত্যের যে সামর্থ্য, সত্যের যে শক্তি, তাকে অস্বীকার করা যায় না, তাকে পেছনে ফেলে দেওয়া যায় না। সত্যের সামর্থ্য অসীম, অপরিসীম, তাকে রুখে দেওয়া যায় না, তাকে তাকে কোথাও বন্দি করে রাখা যায় না। কিছুদিন যায়, কোনো সময় পর্যন্ত যায়, তারপরে আর যায় না। তাই সত্য ফুটে উঠেছে। আমাদের যখন হরপ্পা মহেঞ্জোদারোর সিভিলাইজেশনের কথা জানা গেল, হরপ্পা মহেঞ্জোদারোর সিভিলাইজেশনটি ওয়েস্টার্ন ওয়ার্ল্ডের প্রায় সব রকম সিভিলাইজেশন, সব রকম সভ্যতার যে নিদর্শন এবং নথি, তার থেকেও আগে। কিছু ওয়েস্টার্ন স্কলার পরে মন্তব্য করতে এবং অবজারভেশন দিতে বাধ্য হয়েছেন, যারা আর্কিওলজি, অ্যানথ্রোপোলজির মধ্যে কাজ করেছেন এমন কিছু স্কলার, খুব বড় মাপের স্কলার যারা, তারা এটা ব্যক্ত করেছেন যে হরপ্পা মহেঞ্জোদারোর যে সভ্যতা, সেটি এতটাই অ্যাডভান্সড যে এটি ওভারনাইট হয় না, রাতারাতি হয় না। Some of those Western scholars who are among the Western scholars during the same period of study, some of them have recognized, and these people had ideas of anthropology and archaeology, people having the ideas and respect for anthropology and archaeology have come to a conclusive point, and that has been published by them only. This has been mentioned in Suteta many times, and also it has been mentioned in the work of Vedas published by Suteta. And there, the entire reference has been given in that Veda Vigyaner Govile and Vedastam. Uday, there one find that's in Bengali, the English version is coming. There one would find that the a few of the leading Western scholars they have come to the conclusive point that the Harappan and Mohenjo-daro civilization, the artifacts, the kind of living they had, the kind of society they had formed, the collectiveness, the kind of relations among them that they had formed, they maintained their lives, along the pathways of that collectiveness. It required several millennia to come up to that stage of understanding, and once that understanding is developed, only then this kind of depictions, artifacts, structures can be made. মহেঞ্জোদারো হরপ্পা সভ্যতার মধ্যে যে সমস্ত স্ট্রাকচার ছিল, যে সমস্ত আর্টিফ্যাক্টস, যে সমস্ত উপাদান সেখানে তারা তৈরি করেছেন, যেভাবে তারা জীবন যাপন করেছেন, যেমন তাদের জীবনযাপনের পদ্ধতি ছিল, জীবনযাপনের মধ্যে যে সম্পর্ক সূত্র ছিল, বহুজন মিলে একসঙ্গে বাস করা, কাজ করা, সবার মধ্যে শেয়ার করা, সবার মধ্যে একসঙ্গে হাতে হাত মিলে চলা, এক স্থানে একটি স্থান থাকবার স্থান, কালেক্টিভ বহু মানুষ একসঙ্গে, এবং বোঝা যায় যে সেখানে তাদের মধ্যে জ্ঞানের চর্চাও ছিল, তারা মেডিটেশন করতেন, ধ্যান করতেন। সেখানে শিবের মূর্তি পাওয়া গিয়েছে, মূর্তি এমন ভাবে ক্রস লেগ তিনি ধ্যানস্থ হয়ে আছেন, ভগবান মহাদেবের সেই পাওয়া গিয়েছে এবং মাতৃমূর্তিও পাওয়া গিয়েছে। দো ইট ইজ ফোর হ্যান্ডেড, চার হাতে চতুর্ভুজা, কিন্তু সেই মূর্তি পাওয়া গিয়েছে দ্য উইমেন ফর্ম অফ গড, এমন ভাবে পাওয়া গিয়েছে যে সেটি যেখানে সবাই থাকে, সবাই যেখানে একসঙ্গে বসবে সেখানে তাদের রাখা হয়েছে। অর্থাৎ এটি বোঝা যায় যে they had the practice of having the rituals of worshipping gods, the cross-legged meditative form of Lord Shiva that was there, and the form of mother has been identified with the four hands of that supreme mother by the side of the cross-legged, the supreme soul, the Lord of Lords Mahadeva in his meditative posture. And this depicts the idea that a lot of people, many people, the places were such that at a time several hundred people could sit, they could live, they could have their worship, they could have their foods collected and shared there, they could have their showers, the not showers, the baths from the well. There were wells, big size wells, and the mechanism to dig out water, to get water from the wells and use that water in their livelihood, in their bathing, in their washing, in their cooking, meaning some mechanism of living the life, it was there. The use of fire was also there. The kind of age classification that paleontology and anthropology collectively they have done, and that the era of the fire they have depicted, and the era of the different kinds of metals, for example iron, the age of iron, the age of other metals, and prior to that the age of unidentified zone. All these era that have been identified and depicted by several anthropologists and paleontologists, these are now getting challenges because the basis of that has not been that scientifically oriented as they claim it to be scientific. আমাদের ঋষিগণ, ভারতবর্ষের ঋষিগণ যে ভাবে উপস্থাপন করেছেন, that has got a more powerful scientific background, than what the so-called scientists have done it in the Western world during the last 200 years and during the period which when India was subjugated by the Western powers and the Indian minds, Indian intellectuals, Indian powers of mind, powers of intellect could not penetrate into that because of their subjugation, and that is why they could not raise their voice on that. আমরা তাই এখান থেকে চলে যাব সেই পরমাত্মনের খোঁজে চলে যাব দি বেদিক পিরিয়ড অ্যান্ড আর্লিয়েস্ট বেদিক পিরিয়ডে আমরা চলে যাব The earliest Vedic period started with the Rigvedic period, which, to my estimation, I have given my estimation in a elaborate, rational manner, giving the reasons and arguments for that. That it should not be, it cannot be, less than 20,000 years from now in the back of human history, and it was there in place for nearly a spread of 10,000 years. So 20,000 years in the back up to 10,000 years in the back. This was approximately the period of the Vedic sages and the period of utterance of truth. Surprisingly, the maturity of knowledge and wisdom which India had at that time. And when I'm saying India, it is not the India that we understand as the geographical limit of the country as of now. The understanding of India was those who are conversant with the movement of geology and understand the combination of geography through the movement of geology. They would understand the Gondwana land, and the Gondwana land which was there, and that was having huge spread. The spread is from the western part, western side, the border of the Turkey's, Turkey's domain or the Turkey's, zone or the Turkey's boundaries, and from there, continued up to the Far Eastern region, spread through the entire spread of India, adjoining nations. I don't have any, any hesitation in mentioning, but it's without any kind of, prejudice against anyone in this. So please, don't take it as a prejudiced view. It is just an utterance of a, person who has tried sincerely to observe this and discover this in the right sense of the term, and so it spreads up to the the point of end of Japan, the Far Eastern and Japan, and in the northern zone, entire Tibetan plateau, not just the Tibetan province. Tibetan plateau is actually spread out into two additional adjoining states of now Chinese territory, and also all the lands in between. So the entire place has the spread of the truth of the Vedas. And the truth of the Vedas started in the most ancient period. And this truth is the truth ultimate of the Supreme. The sages of the Vedas tried to understand and try to, make others understand through their own realization and the process of realization that the spread of things started from God Himself. It is it is the birth of the world, the birth of the things in the world, birth of lives of the world, and it as a gift of the divine. So it all started as a gift of the divine. The spread of or the stories of or the facts that around different Manu is there. Manus are there of different types, different phases. And when we have the Manus of different phases in that, and what we understand is the different phases of the Manu we have, the human society has different tenets of things in different phases of Manu. The current Manu is a Vivaswan Manu. It's spread from the earliest Vedic period. And the previous manus which we had, in this creation, the traces of that are not there available. However, in one place in Rig Vedas, I have got a observation of one sage through a discussion with the senior sage. This was a discussion between Vasishtha and Angira. In this discussion, it was there that it has been mentioned by Vasishtha that the Manu is the current Manu, Vivaswan, and the Manu has got a depiction emerges through four ages: Satya, Treta, Dapar, and Kali. And the four is out of the four ages right now. We are passing through the last phase of Kali, and the Satya is over, Treta is over, Dwapar is over, and Kali is now passing almost now at the fag end of it. Maybe another 2 centuries this Kali shall survive. And some delusions, some total annihilation occurs at the end of all these four periods. This occurs in order to give place to the new manifestation of the Supreme. Now, how does this manifestation occur? There is a conversation in the Pancham Mandala, fifth chapter uh, of Rig Veda, and which is the mandala of a three sage Atri. Sage Atri was an attraction for Sri Ramachandra, the the uh, uh, one of the major incarnation of the Divine Supreme. And Atri's hermitage was there deep inside the in a forest area in the middle of India. And in that, it was by the side of a river and such a nice place where Rama, with his entire convoy, entire people, and entered there, and I was so much convinced seeing the elements of life, the elements of living, the kind of the pattern and the ways they used to live, and all these things had moved him so much that he wanted to. He had submitted to the sage Anushwa, who happens to be the wife of Atri. Sage Anushwa has a contribution in the Rig Vedas also. A few verses are there by heart, but those verses are very, very, direct and prominent. And in the verse, she is mentioning that when you are in a meditative posture, unless you have a love for God in the meditation, you do not have the transcendence in that. This is what is the essence of what Sage Anishwa had mentioned. And she happens to be the wife of Atri, and together they were there in the hermitage and they were offering their meditative things, meditative lessons to the world. What is the message that they had offered to the world? It was mentioned by says Atri in that during the presence of Ramachandra, and he had mentioned that the life is a continuity. And in this life, we have to have the origin and the end of it. Every life needs to have a span. And we have to accept this as a fact of truth because the design of the Supreme Divine is such that you have to rotate. The soul has to rotate. The Supreme Soul gives liberty to the individual souls to stay and to retain. But during the stay, you can maximize the period of stay. You can maximize the period of stay, and through that, what you can do, you can contribute to the creation of the Supreme and you can make it further better. যেটি ভগবান অত্রি ভগবান রামচন্দ্রের কাছে যেটি উপদেশের মধ্যে বললেন যেটি ঋগ্বেদের পঞ্চম মণ্ডলের বেশ কয়েকটি স্থানে ডেপিক্ট করা হয়েছে। সেখানে বলা হয়েছে যে এই যে সৃষ্টি যেখানে হয়েছে পরমাত্মা তিনি আত্মার মধ্য দিয়ে জীবের জাগরণ ঘটিয়ে দিয়েছেন, জীবের মধ্যে প্রাণ সঞ্চার, শক্তি সঞ্চার, জীবের মধ্যে চেতন সঞ্চার করে দিয়েছেন। প্রাণশক্তি এবং চেতন এর দ্বারাই জীবের জীবন পরিচালিত হচ্ছে। কিন্তু যদি এই প্রাণশক্তি চেতন, যে চেতনকে নেওয়া হয়েছে, সেই চেতন দ্বারা পরিচালিত হয় ইন দি রাইট ফর্ম। এই রাইট ফর্মটি অত্রি ঋষি বললেন, it was a kind of lesson given to Ramchandra. Atri Rishi was a sage at the hermitage who wanted to offer some eternal message to Ramachandra because he has to maintain his promise to the world and has to do many things in the world to establish truth also in the world through all pathways which is very very critical and very very troublesome. So he had to pass through that. অত্রিশি তাকে বললেন যে তোমাকে এটা জানতে হবে। কি জানতে হবে? না এই সৃষ্টির মধ্যে তুমি এই যে অ্যাটিটিউড টু দি ক্রিয়েশন, এই সৃষ্টির মধ্যে অ্যাটিটিউডটাকে তোমাকে বুঝতে হবে। This was further narrated and directly elaborated by Saint Jangabal. এটি এই মনোভাব যেটি অত্রি ওখানে ব্যক্ত করেছেন ইন ডিটেলস, সেটিকে খুব সামারাইজড ফর্মে, খুব অল্প কথার মধ্যে যাজ্ঞবল্ক্য ঋষি তার নিজের মধ্য দিয়ে, নিজের উপলব্ধির মধ্য দিয়ে ব্যক্ত করেছেন। যাজ্ঞবল্ক্য লিখলেন একটি খুব ছোট উপনিষদ, ঈশা উপনিষদ, ঈশোপনিষদ। During his period of writings and conversations, Sri Aurobindo has given one of the highest importance to Isha Upanishad. In the secrets of Vedas, what he has mentioned, that the essence of the Vedas is caught in this 18 verses, only 18 verses which are there in the Isha Upanishad. And if one can have this in the eternal presence of that can be obtained. This version of Sri Aurobindo was taken by many other practitioners, scholars, and the even the people who are there in the mass movement. গান্ধীজি যখন ভাগবত গীতা লিখেছিলেন তখন তার ডিসকোর্সের মধ্যে এটি আছে এবং তিনি একটি সামারি দিয়েছিলেন, সেই সামারির মধ্যে এটি আছে যে এটি যদি সিভিলাইজেশনে যদি এই একটি স্তোত্র যদি মানুষের মধ্যে জেগে থাকে, যেটি ফার্স্ট উপস্থাপন করেছেন যাজ্ঞবল্ক্য, তাহলে এন্টায়ার বেদাস উইল বি কন্টেইনড ইন দ্যাট। And Jaggavalkya has mentioned Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvyam Yat Kim Cha Jagatyani Jagat Teno Takteno Gunjitaha Magrida Kasha Sweet Dhanam Kaha Asya Asviti Dhanam. So in this, what he mentions, Jaggavalkya এর দ্বারা বোঝালেন যে যা কিছু রয়েছে সৃষ্টির মধ্যে, এই সৃষ্টির মধ্যে যা কিছু আছে, যা কিছু হয়েছে, যা কিছু আছে এবং যা কিছু হবে, অতীত, বর্তমান, ভবিষ্যৎ, এই সবই পরমাত্মন, তিনি ব্রহ্ম সনাতন, তিনি ভগবান দেবাদিদেব মহাদেব, তারই সৃষ্টির মধ্য থেকে এসেছে। সমগ্র সৃষ্টি তারই সৃষ্টির অভ্যন্তরেই বিরাজমান হয়ে আছে, এরই মাঝখানে নানা ধরনের সৃষ্টি হয়ে আছে, তার নানা রূপ আছে, নানা বিকাশ আছে, নানা বর্ণনা আছে, নানা ভাবে বর্ণনা আছে। ভগবানকে নানা ভাবে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তাকে শক্তি রূপে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তাকে জ্ঞান রূপে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তাকে ভক্তিতে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তাকে কর্মের মধ্য দিয়ে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তাকে নানা মিশ্রণের মধ্য দিয়ে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তাকে অনির্বাচনীয় ভাবে বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে, তার সঙ্গে অনির্বাচনীয়ের সঙ্গে যোগে যুক্ত হওয়ার কথা বর্ণনা করা হয়েছে। বেশি বলেছেন, সেই যেভাবেই বর্ণনা করা হোক না কেন, তিনি হলেন সর্বভৌম। He is sovereign in himself. When I'm saying he, it does not connote to any gender. It is a non-gender terminology. It refers to any creation. So he is the creation. He is himself present in the creation. He is himself is the expansion of the creation, the movement forward of the creation when you wish or desire to move forward. Now, he is the creator, but he is neutral to the creation. A creator who would remain neutral to the creation. তিনি এই স্রষ্টা, কিন্তু এই সৃষ্টির মধ্যে তিনি যেন নিরপেক্ষ হয়ে আছেন। সৃষ্টির মধ্যে নিরপেক্ষ হয়ে আছেন এই কারণে যে সৃষ্টি তার সহানুভূতিশীল, সৃষ্টি তার অনুগত, সৃষ্টি তার অনুরূপ। এই যে চেতনা, এই চেতনার মধ্যে বেশিরভাগ সময় তার থেকে যেন দূরে চলে আছে। সৃষ্টি তার যে অনুরূপ, অনুগত, সহানুভূতি, এই যে আকর্ষণগুলি, এই যে সম্ভাবনাগুলিকে, যেগুলি তার ধরে নেওয়া যেতে পারে ভাগবতী ইচ্ছার মধ্যেই অনুভূত আছে বা অঙ্গীকৃত আছে, সেগুলি সৃষ্টির মধ্যে প্রতিপালিত বেশিরভাগ সময় হয় না। প্রায়োরিটি অর্থাৎ প্রাধান্যের ক্ষেত্রগুলি আলাদা হয়ে আছে সৃষ্টির মধ্যে। তাই জন্য অত্রি বললেন, এই সৃষ্টির মধ্যে আমাদেরকে বুঝতে হবে যে পরমাত্মা থেকে আত্মার আগমন, জীবাত্মা যে পরমাত্মা থেকে আগমন, জীবাত্মা একটি জড় অস্তিত্ব নয়, জীবাত্মা একটি চেতনজাত অস্তিত্ব। জীবাত্মার চেতন অস্তিত্ব পরমাত্মার সঙ্গে মিশে আছে। জীবাত্মা পরমাত্মার মধ্যে একটা একাত্মতা আছে, আর এই একাত্মতা যখন বোঝা যাবে তখনই তার উপলব্ধি ঘটবে, ভগবানের উপলব্ধি ঘটবে জীবনে। The presence of the Supreme Soul in individual human life is known as the human context of the soul. In the human context of the soul, which is again termed as Jivatma, the human context of the soul is assumed to have so much, friendship with the human context or the material context of the world, and is assumed to have inherited or have received the influences from the material context of the world or the worldly influences as we know it by that terminology, and in that it deviates from what the divine desires of it. যেখানে পরমাত্মা এবং জীবাত্মার মধ্যে সংযোগ যেন আলাদা হয়ে আছে, জীবাত্মা পরমাত্মা থেকে আলাদা হয়ে আছে। কেমন করে আলাদা হয়ে আছে? পরমাত্মার যে উৎপত্তি জীবাত্মার যে উৎপত্তি পরমাত্মার উৎস মূল থেকে, সেটি জীবের জীবন তখন ভ্রান্ত ভাবে, ভুল করে অথবা কখনো জেনেও সেটিকে অস্বীকৃতি অথবা সেটিকে না জেনে তার থেকে সরে যাওয়া, এটি হয়ে আছে। হয়ে থাকার ফলে কি হয়েছে সেটি আমরা দেখব। সেটি তার ফলে কি হলো আমরা দেখবো। এখানে পতঞ্জলি মহারাজ কতগুলি তত্ত্ব বিচার করেছেন, এবং সেই তত্ত্ব বিচারে তিনি দেখিয়েছেন যে জীবাত্মার প্রেফারেন্সটা কোন দিকে আছে। জীবাত্মার প্রেফারেন্স আছে বিতর্ক অবদানে প্রতিপক্ষ ভাবনাম, বিতর্কাः হিংসা আদায় কৃতকারিতা অনুমোদিতা, লোভ মোহ ক্রোধ পূর্বকা, হিদু মধ্য অভিমাত্রাः দুঃখ জ্ঞান অনন্ত ফলা, এটি প্রতিপক্ষ ভাবনা। তিনি বললেন প্রতিপক্ষ ভাবনা। প্রতিপক্ষ ভাবনাটি কি হলো না, প্রতিপক্ষ ভাবনার মধ্যে আমরা ভগবানের রূপটি যেন বিস্মৃত হয়ে গেলাম। It is a thought about the other side of the truth, or the opposite side of the coin, opposite side of the coin of truth. And now, what is there in the other side of the truth? The sages are saying, Patanjali Maharaj, the sage, great sage Patanjali is mentioning that when you are in a way to, when you have decided to have a meditative endeavor with a purpose to get united with the divine consciousness. In that case, in that condition, what you have to do is you have to consider the total context of the truth that has been depicted. And in this total context of the truth, what you find is Ishaha Vasha Idam Sarvya Yad Kim Cha Jagatyang Jagat. Yad Kim Cha Jagatyang Jagat. Teno Takteno Vunjita Madrida Kahavasya Svita Dhat. This entire content of this creation, the entire content of the universe is a gift of the divine. And the divine gifts it for the best use of it by the creation. Human being has taken a lead in the creation. And with this power of the lead in the creation, human being has got the capacity to make use of this wisdom of the Supreme, and in the right manner, if it is used in proper sense of the term, then the human society develops into a very, very calm, quiet society of equals, society of fraternity, society of non-discriminatory in nature. And in this kind of society, what happens is human being gets a chance to have a devoted, to have a concentrated, to have a focused, to have a one-minded, single-minded focus on the presence of Supreme in this creation, and considers this creation as the creation by the divine. And therefore, whatever resources are there, whatever wealth is there created, either you get it from someone, either you inherit through someone, either you are gifted from somewhere, or you have done it on your own, created it on your own, and moving forward towards having more and more. You have to consider in the truest sense of the term that this does not belong to you. You are not the owner of that. It's the divine who is the actual owner of that. And you have to make use of this for the best use of the human society. And the purpose of this should be gifted. The essence of this should be gifted to the human society. যখন আমাদের মনে এটি জেগে উঠবে, যেটি ঋষি বললেন, ঈশাবাস্যম ইদম সর্বম কিম চ জগত্যাং জগৎ। ঈশ্বর, ঈশ্বর হলেন সেই তিনি ভগবান স্বয়ং সত্য, পরম সত্য, পরম চেতন। এই ঈশ্বর তিনি, তাকে আমরা তাহলে কেমন ভাবে তাকে আমাদের রেসপেক্ট, আমাদের প্রণাম নিবেদন করব? তাকে আমাদের প্রণাম নিবেদন করতে হলে আমাদের এই জ্ঞানকে অর্জন করতে হবে, এই প্রজ্ঞাকে অর্জন করতে হবে। এই যা কিছু সৃষ্টির মধ্যে আছে, যা কিছু সৃষ্ট, if someone has done something assuming that it is created by him or her, it is also a gift of the divine. The spirit of divinity, the power of divinity, the strength from divinity, the gift of the consciousness from the divine within the person has done this, maybe sometimes miraculous, maybe sometimes very, very powerful, or very, very magnanimous creation. It is all a collective gift, all a singular gift of the divine. মানুষের দ্বারা যেগুলি হয়েছে, সৃষ্ট হয়েছে, মানুষ যেগুলি কর্ম দ্বারা করেছেন, সেগুলি মানুষের মনে হতে পারে যে these are all gifts which are actually the gifts from his own side to the world. And this gift, the person who gives this gift to the world in the blood form, in the person's urge for the love for the divine. ঋষি বলছেন, বিশ্ব মাঝে হয়েছে যা আবির্ভূত, হয়েছে যা উদ্ভূত, হয়েছে সৃষ্টি যা কিছু সম্পদ এই জগৎ পটে এ পর্যন্ত এসেছে প্রত্যক্ষে অথবা হয়েছে পরোক্ষে গড়ন মানব দ্বারা যা কিছু সবই ভগবত অধিকার প্রত্যক্ষ প্রদান অথবা পরোক্ষ সৃষ্টিতে সম্পন্ন। নিত্য শাশ্বত প্রভু তিনি রেখেছেন করে ধারণ সৃষ্টিকে সমগ্র প্রায়। এখন মানবের দায় নিজ স্বার্থকে সরিয়ে হয়ে উঠতে ভগবত প্রাচীন জগৎ মাঝে দানের মহিমায় গড়ে নিতে জগৎ মাঝে এসেছে যা কিছু সম্ভার নিজের বা সামগ্রীকে ব্রহ্ম সনাতন তিনি এই জগৎ মাঝে হয়ে আছেন সব সম্পদের রাজ রাজেশ্বর। এই প্রজ্ঞা, এই প্রতীতি, প্রতীতিতে the conviction that the Supreme Divine is the creator of everything in this creation. The conviction that the Supreme Divine is the Raja Rajeshwar, King of the Kings. He is the owner of everything in this creation. Even something, if you consider that it is absolutely your own. These days in the world, there is a very popular way of functioning by the intellectual is to have a record or the registration of the property right, intellectual property right. Why is it needed? Because the intellectual world is a world of greed. The intellectual world is a world of greed. This is not just a comment, but this is, something which has got a truth behind. Because the IPR or intellectual property right was, essential to create. Because people were stealing away the ideas from others or the knowledge of others and depicting that his or her own as his or her own. And this is how the motivation or the inspiration behind the original person's creation goes evaporated and the person does not proceed forward to create further. That goes to a vestige of the power of creation in this entire civilization or entire cosmic world. That needed in the global system a pattern which says that you protect yourself. And the moment some legal thing is available, there could be some people who will, with their unholy intent in life, would use that in a different manner, in a wrong manner. That's what is happening throughout the world, not just in the west or east or some other Mediterranean or some place alone, but everywhere or anywhere in the world. Sage has mentioned that in this world, whatever has been in place, in this world, whatever wealth has been in place or created by you and all, whatever has come directly or indirectly across with you and stays with you for a longer period of time, you take it as a kind of with your confidence and approve this in your confidence, accept this in your mind and consciousness that all these are gift of God. And now you have to consider that supreme soul, that supreme divine as the owner of everything. And in that, since you have the temporary, custodianship of this property or the wealth in the world. It is the wealth of material possession, it is the wealth of any kind of valued possession, or it is the wealth of your spirit, wealth of your wisdom, wealth of your knowledge. Anything is a wealth of yours. And the entire wealth of yours belongs to the wealth of the Supreme Divine. And therefore, the Supreme Divine has to be considered by you in all respect, in all possible context, that He is the King of Kings of this wealth, and He is the master and the owner of this wealth. and you are just the custodian of this wealth. Therefore, what you have to do? You have to have a spirit of sacrifice in the world, and the spirit of sacrifice would maintain yourself at the same time and maintain the world towards, in the same orientation or towards the same objective, fulfillment of the objective of the Supreme Divine on earth. The sage has further mentioned, Utvan eva iha karmani, jiji visheta shatang samaha, evam tvaihi na innatha stihi, na karma lipate narehe. বলছেন ভগবত কর্মের হয়ে অনুসারী হও জীবন মাঝে ব্রতী হোক সম্পাদন জগতময় সব জীবন কর্ম ভগবত অনুসারী হয়ে ভগবত অনুসারী যেমন করে হয়ে নিরাসক্ত কর্মের অঙ্গনে এমন করে হয়ে নিরাসক্ত কর্মের অঙ্গনে কর প্রবেশ অনন্য কর্মের নিত্য অনুধাবনের এই প্রেরণার পর্বে পর্বে নিরাসক্ত কর্ম হয়ে উঠবে ক্রমে নিবেদিত ভগবানে এমনই নিষ্কাম কর্মই করবে প্রতিষ্ঠা জগৎ মাঝে শিব প্রজ্ঞা যে জীবন হয়ে উঠবে বিশুদ্ধ নিবেদিত নিবেদনকারী নিষ্কাম কর্মপথে কর্ম নির্যাস হয়ে কর্মফল করে নিবেদন শতবর্ষ স্থিত জগৎ মাঝে. So the sage is telling the concept of sustainability in life and in the universe. What is the concept of sustainability? When you are doing a work, you do the work without any selfish desire contained as a spirit of the work. You do the work as a result of the work dedicated to the spirit of the divine. You do the work without any addictions to the result of this work, but towards the fulfillment of perfection in the work. You do the work which is destined to be done by you as you are the representative of the Supreme in the world. Do the work in such a way that the work is not getting addicted in any way, either in the form or in the material form or in the concept of yours or thoughts of yours or the spirit of yours in any way. And through that, you maintain your life towards centuries and go beyond the centuries by doing this selfless work in the world, which is dedicated to the Lord Supreme all the time. So the concept of the work dedicated to the Supreme Lord is there. It is mentioned by the sage Jangavalka here, but this was originally actually narrated by sage Atri, and prior to that it was mentioned by sage Vasishti, the earliest part of the Greek Vedas in the most ancient period of life. So this is the fundamental spirit in the Indian civilization. The fundamental spirit, now two steps we have got. First step is the spirit says that it is all owned by the Supreme. You are the custodian of all the resources, wealth, intrinsic, extrinsic, any kind of wealth, you are the custodian. But you have to do perfection. You have to do in the most right manner so that it fulfills the objective of the divine. And in the next phase, it says that when you are doing a walk in the world, dedicate yourself to the cause of the walk and take the walk to the perfection and consider that the walk is endowed to you by God and consider that God has an intent through you to have a perfection in the world. And thereby, what you have to do is you have to have the walk done in such a way that it does not contain any element of your selfish desire to get fulfilled through the result of the work. However, you have to dedicate the result of the work to the Supreme, and this work then becomes Nishkama Karma, the selfless work in the world. If you can maintain this throughout in your life, then you extend your duration of stay in the world beyond 100 years, and then you just serve the world in such a manner that you are a relevant contributor to the world of or world created by God, and you are actually following the intent of God in a selfless manner, and you maintain that. The sage is mentioning again, Anejat ekang manasaha jivaya diva arshak etat apnan purvan tat bhavatah jnana utiyeti tishthatah tasminna apaha maturishya dayati. Now, maturishya dadati, what the sage is mentioning, that here you have to understand the nature of the presence of Supreme. How is he present in this creation, in this universe? He is present in an invisible form, but he may come and appear before you in a visible, material, even human form. We know that the incarnations of God were not only that human form, but various other forms prior to that. That's a kind of evolution of the appearance of or the revelation of God through the ages, and the material form, transcends into the human. This is full of consciousness, and the human form, of the incarnation of God is always through or for a purposeful existence. The initial purpose was to correct the influence of the demonic impacts in the human society or human civilization, and that was the fight for the establishment of righteousness. We know the fight for the righteousness was done by Ramachandra, and the fight for the righteousness was done by Lord Krishna. The Lord Rama and Lord Krishna, these two major and incarnates of God, they have done in their own way during their own period of revealed presence in the world. The creation, they have served the creation towards the maintaining or reestablishing truth in this creation, truth of the divine in this creation. And through that, they have saved the world from the griefs of unrighteousness or griefs of the demonic forces. What are the demonic forces? Patanjali has mentioned very clearly the types of the demonic forces. He has mentioned very clearly. And he's saying that these demonic forces are there, which are there, in the form of arrogance, anger, greed, extreme form of desire, lust. What is the extreme form of desire? The biological desires of extreme variety, and jealousy, envy. All these are winning to the development of the inner soul or the revelation of the inner soul. Patanjali is mentioning that you do Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka. Rechaka is when you, in the meditation, when you inhale. I'm just showing this. This is just half of a cycle. What I've done, inhale, hold, exhale. Rechaka, Kumbhaka, Puraka. Now, Kumbhaka is what? Now, Kumbhaka is you are actually spreading it across. When you start, you inhale the fresh, hold it, and exhale the unfresh. Now, when you take it, do the opposite, but Kumbhak remains constant. When you hold it, you're spreading the pranabayu across. And through that, your Sushumna or the spirit which runs through the vertebral column and Ida and Pingala are the two added systems of the consciousness supporting each other and doing periodic clearance of the impurities in the mind and impurities in the consciousness and gradually getting elevated up to the top of our existence. So then it becomes intrinsic, hold, and release. So when it is an intrinsic fulfills. What is the fulfillment? Now the fulfillment is wherever there is a need to have a transformation, it helps in the process of transformation. Each cell has a desire. Each cell has an intrinsic desire to have a transformation. And when the pranavayu or the vital air reaches that cell with your positive intent to get connected to the divine, then you actually elevate that, you actually strengthen that and connect that with your central consciousness. So now the entire existence become a conscious existence. Now the sage is mentioning that the conscious existence, if you have, the conscious existence will tell you that you have realized the presence of God as one and only and the presence of God everywhere. And you have now realized that the creation is His own creation. You have now realized that the creation is a gift of Him towards having the lives maintained on earth and the global system. পরমেশ্বর তিনি এক অনন্ত স্থিত অচঞ্চল সর্বত্র আবার তিনিই হয়েছেন পরম গতিময় পূর্ণতর অবস্থানে একত্রে পরম তিনি মনের গতিময় বেগ অতিক্রমী হয়েছেন ব্যাপ্ত সর্বসময়ে জলের ব্যাপ্তিকে ছাপিয়ে রয়েছেন বিস্তৃত জগতময় হয়ে বিস্তৃততর তিনি বায়ুর অপেক্ষা না করে চলেন সম্মুখে হয়ে আরো গতিষ্মান এমন পরম বিকাশের তিনি হবেন নিত্য স্থিতির একান্ত প্রয়াসী দেবচেতনে জগন্মাতার আনুকূল্যে দিয়েছেন জগৎ মাঝে মানবের প্রাণশক্তির সঞ্চার হয়ে কৃপাময় করেছেন ধারণ মানবের সব অবিকাশী বিকাশ প্রকারণ. So now I'm saying that, there's so many things in this creation, but all these different things are actually one single thing. And that one single thing is that complete consciousness. And it is all originated of that complete consciousness. And when we consider that it is a complete consciousness, then it becomes formless. Even the human form becomes formless, the form of divine becomes formless. But that formlessness of the human being and the formlessness of God, it is a formlessness in the consciousness when you have the identity created through your meditative form or your devotion, through your devotion to God or through your meditative form to God. And in that condition, at that kind of position, what you have done, you have actually developed or transformed your material or human consciousness to a divine consciousness. And through that, you understand the entire creation is God's own. Not only that, God Himself is present in elements of this creation. All these elements of this creation carries the basis of God and the spirit of God. And therefore, when you are into the world of work in this world, you are not actually addicted to the or oriented to the result of the work. You are not actually inclined towards getting a part of the result of the work. Rather, you are now devoted to the spirit of the divine and you offer to everyone in this creation, assuming that you are not offering to any individual in the world. You are not doing that. You are doing what? You are gifting it to God. You're gifting it to God, or you're dedicating it to God through the individuals or the people of the world, or through the context of the world, in whatever context you are placed in. That's right. You can now, the divine spirit now can move faster than anything. It moves faster than any sound. Like, the power of mind is, it takes the vehicle of the mind and it moves faster than the power of mind. Power of mind is more powerful than the power of air. We now know the Concorde, is above the Mach, Mach level. Mach is the, speed of air, and speed of sound. And so it's more than that, the speed of sound, speed of air. So speed of sound, speed of air, it crosses that, and the power of divine is infinitely higher than that. It's not just the 1.4 or 2.4 or 5. It's not infinitely higher. Wherever it's needed, that it's there immediately. There is no gap of time in between, according to our perception. And therefore, when a person understands this, he's full of velocity and speed everywhere. And the kind of velocity and speed that he has is beyond any perception. And again, at the same time, he's not at all moving. He's very steady. He's totally calm. He's only at one point. He doesn't move. He doesn't have any kind of reflective movement or direct movement. He doesn't have any kind of dispersion from the point of his presence. Is absolutely static in that place with the absolute dynamism contained in that. So at the same time, he is absolutely dynamic and absolutely static. It's beyond the perception of human consciousness. If we have to understand this, then we have to transform our consciousness to our divine consciousness, and then only we understand that which is there. And through that, we understand his presence and we recognize that his presence is there in everything. The sage has discovered this and has narrated that at the same time. Yatu sarvani bhutani atmani evo anupashyanti hi sarva bhuteshu cha atmanan tatohu na biju duksatehe. বিরাট তার এই জগৎ সঞ্চারে হয়েছেন ব্যপ্ত শতই নিজেকে, করেছেন ব্যপ্ত শতই নিজেকে, হয়েছেন তিনি এই ব্রহ্ম সনাতনের মহাপ্রকাশ রূপ সঞ্চারে প্রতি একান্তে প্রকাশে শতই হয়েছেন ব্যপ্ত জগৎময় নিত্য সংবেদে, এমন বিকাশে সর্বত্র ব্যপ্ত জীবের অন্তরে বাইরে অবস্থানে নিত্য সত্য হয়ে, যে প্রাণ মন হৃদয় হয়েছে মূর্ত পূর্ণ প্রকাশের প্রকাশ ব্যাপ্তির অভিপ্সায়, হয়েছে তার জ্ঞাত, হয়েছে সে জ্ঞাত সকল প্রাণ মাঝে পূর্ণ সত্যের চেতন অবস্থিতির পূর্ণত্বের বোধে, এসেছে সে প্রাণ মনের মাঝে ব্রহ্মদীপ্তি করতে শতই অঙ্গীকার নিজ জীবনে নিজ জগতে, শিব চেতনে হয়ে স্নাত এখন হবে পূর্ণ ভাগবতী প্রজ্ঞার বিকাশ জগৎ কর্মের মাঝে. So the work of the world has to be performed with this consciousness of divinity and understanding of the divine, that what I'm doing in this world, what I'm engaged in the world, I have to reach my perfection without any gap in my zone of activity or zone of responsibility in the world. And the entire walk of mind is a dedication, is a worship of the divine. And the moment I have an understanding that the entire world, the entire state of work is actually the endowment of the divine supreme in me, that we understand that we are connected to the supreme soul, and the soul within the entire human being is a human existence or human identity of the soul. The human existence or identity of the soul is now connecting with the Supreme Soul. And it's mentioned that when the speed of this infinity, infinite speed is there in this, the soul is infinite, is so strong, then it's mentioned Mahavishwa. The meaning of that is here, meaning of that the Supreme Mother. So, what is the presence of the Supreme Mother? She is like, invisible air and plays with, and gets sprayed in the entire civilization, entire creation, as a kind of air which can penetrate everywhere. But at the same time, she is the motherly form, and the motherly form is endowed with the responsibility of maintaining this creation and taking this creation ahead, and the spirit of the creation to spread across, saying that this world is a world as a gift of the Supreme, this world is a gift of the divine, and you have to understand the divine by transcending yourself from the human being to divine consciousness. So your initiative, your effort should be what? The efforts that you need to have is the efforts of someone who takes the individual consciousness or attempts to take the individual consciousness towards the divine consciousness and attempts to unite with the divine consciousness, this creature, and maintains the life in accordance. When you do the work, you endow the work to God. When you do the work with the concept of Nishkama Karma. Nishkama Karma is a selfless work, but the work has to lead to its own perfection. Work has to lead to its own destiny. Each element of the work has a destiny of its own. That's the target of the work. That's the destined position of the output of the work. So you have to take the work either that or beyond the destined position, but how you have to do that in a truthful manner. And if you do that in the truthful manner, the work will be considered as the work of the divine. And now you are doing the divinely work. With this divinely work, you are now serving the divine. You are now turn your life into a life of the elements of the divine, and you are worshiping the divine with your work, and you maintain in such a way that, and with the conviction and the wisdom that the entire world is a gift of the divine, and you are also a gift of the divine. You are doing whatever is a gift of the divine, and you have to rise up to the expectation and the demand for the divinity. You have to be pure. You have to maintain that purity in your life, and you have to take the work towards the perfection and the desired objective to be attained through the perfection. And therefore, you now understand the Supreme Soul is now in your presence. Is Supreme Soul is your creator. Supreme Soul is your maintainer. Supreme Soul is actually supporting you to survive and take yourself towards a very long period of existence beyond centuries. And therefore, you are now connected to the Supreme Soul by doing this kind of work, by having this mind in yourself, by developing that consciousness within yourself, you have developed a connection with the Supreme Soul and a connection of worship to the Supreme Soul in this manner, and a connection of dedication to the Supreme Soul in this manner, and that's your consecration to the Supreme, and that's your consecration to the Supreme Divine. এটি যখন নিজের নিষ্কাম কর্মের মধ্য দিয়ে নিবেদিত হবে, সেই নিবেদিত কর্ম যখন ব্রহ্ম জ্ঞানে সেই নিবেদিত কর্ম হবে, শিবচেতন আপনার মধ্যে ফুটে উঠবে। আর এই শিবচেতন যখন জাগ্রত হয়ে যাবে, সে মানুষটি জানবে যে যা কিছু আছে সবই ভগবানের কাজ। আর জীবনে যে কর্ম সেটিকে একেবারেই সম্পূর্ণতার মধ্যে নিয়ে যেতে হবে। আর সম্পূর্ণতার মধ্যে নিয়ে যেতে হবে নিজের ব্যক্তিগত স্বার্থ পূরণের জন্য নয়, ভগবানের দানে জীবনকে ভগবানের কাছে অঞ্জলি দেওয়া আপনার কর্তব্য। আর সেই কর্তব্যে ভগবত চেতনকে নিজের জীবনে অঙ্গীকার করে নিজ নিষ্কাম কর্মের পথে প্রয়োগ করেছেন। সেই জীবনই পূর্ণ চেতনের কাছে প্রণামীর জীবন। প্রণাম করা হয়েছে তার কর্মের মধ্য দিয়ে, ধ্যানের মধ্য দিয়ে, प्रज्ञा अर्जुन हे प्रभु सच्चिदानंद যিনি চেয়েছেন তারই অধিকার ক্রমাগত ভাবে ক্রমে ক্রমে প্রজাত। We pray to you, the Supreme Lord, the person who is oriented to that in heart or his mind should have the gift of your consciousness in heart or his mind, O God. আমরা এখন বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করবো, সবাই পার্টিসিপেট করুন। ओम बाग में मनसी प्रतिष्ठिता, मनः में वाची प्रतिष्ठिता।
मनवे वाची प्रतिष्ठितम्
वेदस्यामानि सह श्रुतं मे मा प्रहतिहा।
वेदश्यामा अनिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहस्यः।
आदितेन रात्रां तं दधामि।
अनेनो अदितेन रात्रं संदधामि।
वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि।
रीतं वदामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि।
मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु।
तत्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु।
मामवतु वक्तारमवतु।
अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवक्तारम्।
शांति शांति शांति।
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
पश्यन्तु ममाङ्गानि वा प्राणचक्षुः।
पयन्तु ममाङ्गानि वा प्राणः चक्षुः।
प्रमादः बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि।
श्रुतमतः बलम् इन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि।
ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम्।
अहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात्मा मा ब्रह्म निरकरोत्।
माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यात् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्।
निराकरणं मेऽस्तु।
निराकरमस्तु निराकरं मेऽस्तु।
ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु।
धर्मस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु।
Shanti Shanti.
Om
Om
Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Shanti.
Shanti
Purnamadaः Purnamidana Purnada Purnamudachyate.
Om
Om
Purnamadaha Purnamidam
Purnamidam
Purnat Purnam
Purnat
Mudachyate.
Purnamudachyate
Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avasishvate.
Purnasya
Purnasya
Purnamadaya
Purnamaya
Purnamiva
Purnameva
Avashishyate.
Avashyate
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om
Om Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti
Om Sahno Avatu Sahno Bhunatu.
Om Sano Avatu Shano Bhunaktu.
Bhunatu
Parvavahui.
Taviriyam Karavapai.
Parvabhui
Sino Adhitamastu Mahavidvishavahui.
Yoshino
Tejasvino Aditamastu
Hitamustu
Mahavidvishavapai.
Mahavidvishnahui
Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om
Om Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti
Om Sangha Shankaruna Sangha Bhavati Aryo Maha.
Om
Om
Shamya Mitraha
Samamitra
Sambharunaha Shamya
Sanghavaduna
Bhavati
Sanghavati
Aryamaha.
Aryama
Indra Brihaspati Shangno Vishnu Guru Kramaha.
Shamya Indraha Brihaspatihi
Brihaspati
Shamya Vishnu
Sanghavishnu
Guru Brahmaha.
Rukrama
Brahmane Namaha Devayu.
Namo
Brahmane
Brahmane
Namaste Vayu.
Namadevayu
Ameva Prataksham Brahmasi.
Tvameva
Tameva
Pratyaksham
Pratyaksham Vayachi.
Brahmoti
Prataksham Brahma Vadishvami.
Tvameva
Tameva Pratyaksham
Pratyaksham
Brahma Vadishyami.
Brahmodishyami
Madhishwami, Satyam Madhishwami,
Ekam
Ekam
Vadishyami
Vadishyami
Satyam
Satyam Vadishyami.
Vadishyami
Amavatu Tadvakaramavatu.
Tadmam
Dharmavatu
avatu
Tadvaktaram
tadvaktaram
avatu
Mamavatu Bhaktaram.
Avutuma
avatu mam avatu
Avutuvaktaram
bhaktaram.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om
Om Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti
Bhadran Karneshram Deva.
Om
Om Bhadram
Bhadram Karneshram
Karneshram Deva.
Deva
Bhadram Bhushema Shaviyayotra.
Bhadram
Bhadram Pashnima Abjavi Ayotraha.
Bhushema
Sthirayangoi Tushvangshotanovihi.
Sthirayam Tushvam Shatanuvi.
Kimadevahitanayatayu.
Vashima Devahi Yatayu.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om
Om Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti
আমরা এখন 2 মিনিট ধ্যান করবো। Now 2 minutes meditation by all of us. 2 minute ধ্যান রাখবো। 2 minutes meditation now. জয় মা, জয় মা, জয়। আমরা আজ এখানে শেষ করছি। We are now closing here. আমরা আগামী রবিবার ইন্ডিয়ান স্ট্যান্ডার্ড টাইম 5:30 আবার মিলিত হব। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। উইশ ইউ অল দ্য বেস্ট। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন।
Honorable sir, touching your holy feet. Pranam neven sir. Pranam.
All the best.
স্যার স্যার প্রণাম।
All the best. হ্যাঁ, ভালো থেকো।